What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, the pound for pound king, 4-division world champion, 2-division undisputed world champion, and first ballot future Hall of Famer, Terence Bud Crawford, explains that he would absolutely love to matchmake and put on his mega super fight between himself and another first ballot Hall of Famer, 4-division champion and undisputed champion, Saul Canelo Alvarez, which is scheduled to take place September 13th in Las Vegas, Nevada. Terence Crawford stated that he wants to bolster that card and make it an even bigger super card by putting on, get this, Shakur Stevenson versus Gervonta Tank Davis, right? Now, he stated that if Tank Davis was, not so cocky in his approach, that this would be a great fight to put on his card with with Canelo Alvarez, right? And he stated that, if he's not so cocky, that he can't fight on the Terence Crawford card. Now, the thing about it is, I agree, it would be a super fight. I love the idea, right, to have another mega fight as the co-main event. I love it, right? But I also disagree. And would I love to see a fight of that magnitude on the undercard? Yeah, but not really. Reason being is, I feel like a fight like that is a standalone fight. It needs to have its own place in history, its own date in history, okay? Where you can go back to that date and solely single out that fight, right? It's a super fight, like Crawford and Canelo. I'm all for stacking the undercards of major fights. I'm all for it, right? But not to this magnitude, okay? Great competitive cards and fights, I like it. But this Shakur versus Tank, in my opinion, is another super fight. And I think it needs to stand alone. Would it make the card bigger and more historic? Absolutely. But again, it needs its own identity. It needs to stand alone, in my opinion, right? When you have solid fights, when Floyd Mayweather fought Canelo Alvarez, the co-main event was Danny Garcia versus Lucas Matisse. Great fight, but it wasn't a super fight. That's the perfect co-main event, right? You don't want the co-main event to possibly upstage the main event, right? You want it good enough that you can't wait to get into the main event. So if you're saying Shakur Stevenson, in my opinion, Shakur Stevenson versus Frank Martin, great co-main event or undercard fight. Tank Davis versus Isaac Cruz rematch, great co-main event, right? But when you put two massive A fighters together, they need to stand alone, in my opinion. It needs its own identity, right? So, to give you another example, let's say Floyd was fighting Manny Pacquiao. The fight never took place, and now Floyd is fighting Manny Pacquiao. I don't want to see Terence Crawford versus Canelo as a co-main event. Too big of a fight. Way too big of a fight. It needs to stand alone, in my opinion. Now, another fight, that'll be a great undercard fight. Keyshawn Davis versus Edwin Del Santos, right? Shakur versus Isaac Pitbull Cruz, right? Those level of fights as undercard fights are great appetizers for the main course. I don't like when you have two major, that's a super fight. That's a legacy defining fight. And it's no slight to Isaac Cruz, Frank Martin, Lucas Matisse, so on and so forth. But these are mega fights. You understand? Shakur versus Tank is a mega fight, and it needs to stand alone. I get and understand where Terence Crawford is coming from. It bolsters the card. Now, a lot of people are going to be and already sent it to me, and they're like, this is why Tank don't like Terence Crawford. And this is why Terence Crawford, that's just his opinion, right? Why? Because he says he's too cocky. Well, he is going to be cocky at this stage of his career because of his status. He's a bigger draw than Terence Crawford alone. Gervonta Tank Davis is, right? He sells out. He's done more pay-per-views, right? So he's just a bigger draw. He's a rock star in his own right. So that's why he's going to be cocky, too cocky to be on the undercard. But I'm pretty sure for the right price, anybody would do it. But again, just my opinion, the fight itself, I wouldn't want to see that. Again, let's say Keyshawn and Shakur agree to fight. I don't want to see them on the undercard of Terence Crawford and Canelo. I want it to stand alone. I want the build-up to be standalone in its own entity. That's it. That's all. Right? But to each their own. Everybody's opinion is different. That's just me. Spread it out. More boxing for me as a fan and as a member of the media. Spread it out. But when you have just, I understand the stacked cards. Daniel DeBose versus Joseph Parker. That's a great undercard fight, right? It's headline. It could be a headliner, but also it's not a pay-per-view fight. But it's the perfect undercard fight, right? So you understand where I'm coming from? Certain fights need to stand alone and have their own date, time, and location by themselves, right? Benavidez versus Caleb Smith. Great undercard fight. Benavidez versus Bivol needs to stand alone. Or Artabetebiev needs to stand alone. It needs to be on its own entity, its own date, its own history. Just my opinion. But what y'all think about this? Drop a comment in the comment section and let me know what y'all think. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. I'm gone. Peace.